Good, cat bag. Good. Lock in. But shower first. Yes, good. That first. Thank you for the likes. Oh my goodness, my goat joined. Oh my god. That's the first galaxy I've ever been given. Thank you. Thank you, sir. That's my goat right there. Oh my. And more? Nah, that's my goat right there for real. I'm finna let you win every time we play Fortnite from now on. I mean, I would have no choice because you're just better. That's what I meant. Yeah, Yuji sent me, or was it Yuji? Oh no, it was Mob that sent me the paper from Luis Oliveira. And that shit was gas, so now I'm just talking about it a little bit. It's like so easy to understand. Yeah. Everything is permitted. Are you gonna be on Fortnite like later today or something? Nice. Have a good nap. Yo, what year were you born?
Oh 07.
Okay, cool. So you want to talk about the background?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So
Why do you think that?
Hmm. Yeah, so like if we believe in God and
Mm-hmm.
God has reason for allowing some evils,
Mm-hmm.
whatever those reasons may be, like if they're like so that some greater good can be achieved or that some greater evil can be prevented, whatever those reasons may be, if those reasons uh, act as normative justification for why God permits those evils, then the same normative justification would apply to us, right? Does that make
No,
sense?
you're saying because God allows some evils, then humans have no right to stop those evils. Is that basically what you're saying?
Um, kind of. Basically, it's just that if God has reasons for allowing evils and
Mm-hmm.
those reasons provide justification, and we're in alignment with God and His values, then we would also have similar justification for allowing all the evils we see.
Hold on, let me think for a second.
Okay.
Wait, does my religion matter for this, or you just talking about any God?
It's supposed to target specifically a god who. That's a good question, by the way. But
Mm.
it's supposed to target a god who's all good. It's supposed to be like a form of the problem of evil.
What does it mean by all good though? What does all good like mean? What does it necessitate?
Uh,
Like he
I mean,
can't do
it's
anything wrong. Like he can't. Like what does it mean?
well, it's basically whatever the theist means, right? So, because it's supposed to be like an internal critique. So, whatever the theist is supposed to mean by God having the property of omnibenevolence,
Mm-hmm.
then you take that property and you test whether or not it fits into this situation. So, whatever you mean, if you think that God has the property of being all good,
Mm-hmm.
then this sort of thing would apply to you.
Because I'm a Muslim, I would say God is good, but what does it mean to be all good? Does that mean he can't punish anybody? Like, because I wouldn't say punishment is good. What does that even mean?
Well, I think I think it kind of makes sense. Like if someone does something that like harms someone else
Mm-hmm.
and that action was like unjustified, then the punishment would be the just thing to do, like to reconcile the wrong that happened to the innocent person or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way it would be considered a good, you know?
Okay, so like the way I would try to respond to this prompt is if you say if God exists and humans and God has reasons to let evil things happen and humans should go by the will of God, then humans have no right to interfere with that. I would say that doesn't follow because the purpose of God letting evil like exist in the world in the Islamic view is because of I think is fitra and qadr, which just means is just the test. And God put us here to what's it called? Try to pass the test. So if we were to see evil happening right in front of us and just allow it to happen, then we will not be passing the test. We'll be failing the test.
So what is the purpose of the test supposed to be?
Like the purpose of test. Like what do you mean?
Like presumably
Yeah.
God has like a
Mhm.
reason for putting you through that test,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
I just want to know
Oh
what
yeah,
the reason would
to
be.
give you the chance to have the will to make your decisions, whether you will go by God's will or not. Live by God's the way God wants you to live, basically.
So does God want you to have the ability to choose wrong or to choose like evils, I guess?
Right and wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when you choose to do something wrong, you're not going against God because he wanted you to be able to choose that, right?
He wants you to have the ability to pick right and wrong. He designed you that way. That doesn't necessitate that he wants you to pick wrong.
Well, if he doesn't want you to pick wrong or evils,
Mhm.
then why would he give you that option? It
Why?
seems like if he
Oh, why
gives
would
you
he
that
give?
option, then it's
Mhm.
something that he wants, right?
No, that doesn't follow. So let me put it in the Islamic view. So prior to humans, they were already beings called angels. Angels don't have the ability to pick right or wrong. God like specifically made humans to have the ability to pick right and wrong. And when a human picks wrong, God is not necessarily mad at them as long as they turn back and repent for their actions.
I wasn't really following what you're saying. Can you repeat it?
Okay, so prior to humans, there was already beings called angels. Angels don't have the ability to pick wrong or right. They can only do right by in God's eyes. So they don't have the ability to commit sins or any like that. God specifically made humans to have the ability to pick wrong or right. And when a human picks some to do something wrong, they're not necessarily God is not necessarily mad at them as long as they what's it called repent and stop doing those and we have to repent for their actions. Stop try to stop doing wrong sins.
Well, not only that, if he
Uh-huh.
allows you to do some evil, then if we accept that there's reasons for why he allows you to do some evil,
hmm
then we should also accept that you have reasons to do some evil.
I have there's reasons God allows me to do evils. So
Right, right.
I
And
have
if
reasons.
you're like, so it's saying if you're in alignment with God and God
Mhm.
has reasons to allow you to do evil, then you have reasons to allow the evil to occur.
No. You're conflating free will and God allowing evil in the world. When I have the will to do something evil, like I'm personally making that choice to do evil. So I can have the what's it called? I could be doing it because I want money, I want this, I want that. That doesn't mean God has the same reason for allowing me to do that, to
No,
commit
no, no,
sins.
no. Okay, you're looking at it the wrong way. I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
whatever God's reasons are, those reasons, if we're in alignment with God, we would
hmm
agree with those reasons.
Yeah, but we're not, we don't know what God knows fully.
It doesn't
We
matter. It
can't, we
doesn't matter
can't,
if we know what the
we
reason is.
can't.
The
Yeah,
point
that's what.
is, whatever the reason is, right? Like it could be a number of different things, but whatever it is, it seems like if we're in alignment with God and His will, then we would also have similar reasons, similar normative justification for why that evil is permitted.
But we're not in alignment with God, and we don't have
You're
the same
no,
will as
wait,
God.
hold, no, I okay, wait. So do
What are
you
you saying? Can you like? I don't
like
understand.
if we want to be in accordance with God's values and stuff like that?
Okay.
Yeah, so if we accept that God has reasons for allowing some evils,
Mm-hmm.
whatever those reasons are, if we're in accordance with God having that value,
Mm-hmm.
then we would also say that we have reasons for allowing all the evils we see.
Yeah, but then God commands us not to allow those evils.
Well, I don't see
We're
why
not.
he would do
Okay.
that.
Look, I don't think you understand. Like we, as humans, we have free will. God gave us that free will. And then he allows us to for the test he allows us to commit like sins stuff like that, but then he gave us a guideline telling us not to do those things. So if what you
Well,
if
think
what
about
this
this. Think about this. If he gave us a guideline to tell us to not do those things,
hmm
but he wants us to be able to do those things,
hmm
it seems like there's like some sort of confliction for the
what's
theist
what's
because
the problem?
God wants you to do the good things, but he also wants you to be able to do the bad things.
Okay,
Right.
I don't see the problem.
Well, it seems like it's conflicting for the theist to come to a notion of what actually is good if you have this idea that all the evils we see are actually permitted
Okay,
in virtue of whatever God's reasons are.
so all the evil things are permitted, so it necessitates that God wants us to do it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I didn't. understand what you just said.
So you're saying if all the evil things that happen in the world is permitted by God, you're saying it necessitates that God wants humans to do those things.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
How does that follow when God already gave us a guideline telling us what to do and what not to do? I mean, God gave us okay. God gave us the He already gave us the guideline. So clearly He doesn't want us to do those things. So how does it necessitate that just because those things happen that God wants us to do those things?
Because whatever things that happen, whatever evils that happen, if we accept that God has a reason for allowing those things to happen, then whatever those reasons are, we would also share those reasons because we want to be in accordance with God's values. So from there, we can see that every evil we see is actually something that we should allow and permit.
So it doesn't matter if it goes against the guideline. Just because it happens, we should allow it to happen.
Because it's what God wants.
That doesn't follow because you have the free. God
No,
gave you
no,
the
look,
free
look,
will. He
I'll
doesn't.
tell you. Look, okay, this is like the fourth time I'm trying to explain it. So
Mhm,
God has do you accept this part? Like God has
mhm.
reasons for allowing all the evils we see, or do you not accept that?
God has reasons for allowing the evils to see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I accept it.
Okay,
Hmm.
regardless of what those reasons are, if we agree that God has reasons, or at least one reason for allowing all the evils we see, and that is a justification for the occurrence of those evils,
Hmm.
then we would similarly have justification for the occurrence of all the evils that we see as well.
Okay. I see.
Because it
I
just
see.
follows that if we're in alignment with God, like in alignment with his values and
Uh,
stuff, and he
uh,
values
uh,
that all the evils that we see happen for a reason, well then we would just value that all the evils we see
I
happen for
mean,
some reason, even if we don't know what the reason is.
the problem is you're saying that humans should act like God.
No, no, I'm not saying that at all.
That's what you were saying. So you're saying
No,
if
no,
God
no.
does this,
Look,
then we
look,
should
look,
do
look,
this.
look,
So.
look, look.
Hmm.
You can still be completely different from God. It's just saying if we value God's desires, if we want to be in accordance with God's values, and God has the value that some evils or all the evils we see occur for some greater good or some prevention of some greater evil, then we would share that same value because we want to please God. We want to be in accordance with Him.
Okay. So why this is the reason I said you were saying humans should act like God. Like for example, if a judge was to imprison somebody for a greater good because they see the actions he did, that doesn't like justify or mean that a prison guard has the right to basically kidnap people and lock them up too because that's what the judge did. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Well, so what needs to be defended is the asymmetry between God's reasons for allowing some evil and our reasons for preventing some evil,
Okay.
right? Because like when a judge puts someone in jail, it's because the greater good
Hmm.
um, comes from preventing further evil,
And because the
right?
judge can see the greater good, right?
Well, not necessarily,
How so? If the judge knows his
because the
prior
judge
act,
doesn't have like divine foreknowledge,
no, I'm
right?
saying if the judge knows his prior actions and knows his future actions, and he sees that
How
in
does
the
he
future,
know his
no,
future actions?
I'm giving the judge basically special powers right now. I'm just giving this is because this is hypothetical. So if the judge has prior knowledge of his past and future knowledge of the subject's future, and the
Hmm.
judge sees that in the future he's gonna commit these acts, and then he locks him up to prevent that. The judge is doing it for the greater outcome. Does that mean that somebody that doesn't have this knowledge can do the same thing?
Well, it just means that if we're in accordance, like we share the same values as the judge who has the divine foreknowledge, and
Hmm.
we assume that the judge is all good, he has the property of omnibenevolence, then we can say that it would be a good thing that we, even if we don't
Hmm.
know what the reason is for locking that person up,
Hmm.
we can infer that we have good reason to lock that person up, even if we don't know what the reason is.
Yeah, to lock that specific person up or just every person up.
That specific person, because
Hmm.
the judge who has divine foreknowledge, and we're stipulating that they're omnibenevolent, so we're, you know, sort of like equalizing the traits between the God and the judge, such that if they have similar properties, being omnibenevolence and divine foreknowledge, then the reasons that they have for allowing some evils to occur,
Hmm.
which is like in this case, like putting the person in jail, right? That's like, I guess, presumably supposed to be the analogy to some evil that occurs. Even if we don't know what the reason is, if we take those properties to be something we can trust, then we also share those reasons
Hmm.
for locking that person up, even if
Okay,
it is some sort of evil.
but then that takes away, if you're saying we should just go by it and just allow it to happen, doesn't that take away the doesn't that take away the possibility that the greater good could be your action? Like the greater good could possibly be the human's action in stopping it happening.
It could, but so the issue is just that if you don't know what the reason is, then you have reasons to not act, because some greater good could be achieved by
Mhm.
you not interfering.
No, for example, like if a child is drowning, so God allowed the child to fall, like to stop drowning.
Hmm.
So the greater good in like this specific scenario could be that some a random person jumps in and saves them from what's it called, drowning. And then everybody around that develops courage or develops that,
Right, right.
yeah, selfish like courage and selfishness and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I agree that could be a reason for why he would allow that evil. But if we don't have access to the knowledge that God has,
Hmm.
right, then we couldn't possibly know what the greater good or the greater prevention of evil would be. So if we were to interfere with that drowning child, and it just so happened that that caused the greater good to not be achieved or something like that,
Yeah, so then we have to go
then
back
we'd
to
be
so
then we'd
then
be going against God.
yeah, so then the only way we would know is by going by God's guidelines, right?
Well,
So that
yeah, I mean, but there, so you
mhm.
kind of just have to assume those, right?
Assume what.
Like what God's guidelines are.
Yeah, but then if God's guidelines did exist, like if you were to grant that God's guidelines existed, the only way we would be able to, what's it called, actually go by God's will is by God's guidelines, right?
Okay, so I mean, I don't even I'm not really following, like, because I don't know how you'd have like certain access to his guidelines, but so the point of tension that's supposed to be drawn out here is just that it pulls on our intuitions that if we see a drowning child, the good thing to do is to
Mhm.
go and save them, right?
Okay.
Okay, and so if God has a reason for allowing that evil to commence,
Okay.
right? And we don't know if our interference of that is something that God wants,
Mm-hmm.
then we're sort of in um like a moral stalemate
Yeah,
or
but
a moral
then
paralysis, because we don't have access to what the greater good could be. And if God is clearly allowing this evil to happen, then he clearly has reasons for allowing this evil to
the
happen.
conclusion, you're making the conclusion, but you're what's it called? You're presupposing that we don't have access to God's commands and and basically what he wants us, how he wants us to act.
Yeah, because I mean, well, that's obvious.
You so like religious books don't exist.
Religious books exist, but I just take them all to be very dubious.
Yeah, but then if you grant that God exists, then God would, like, you already, I mean, I wouldn't say like you're a theist. You sound like an atheist. So you already granted that God exists, but then you're stripping me away from everything I could possibly use to answer these questions. Because I can't, if you don't grant me what's it called? My religious book actually real and from God, but you grant me that God exists, then I can't, like this, I can't really say anything.
Well, that should be something that you already think about. Like, even though you believe God exists, like the religious book could be wrong in some way,
Yeah,
right?
but then I don't hold to that. I don't hold to the view that my religious book is wrong.
You think your religious book
I
is
don't think
infallible?
I don't think God could exist without him sending commands. That
No,
would
but do you think the religious book is infallible?
yeah.
I mean, well, how do you come to that conclusion?
Okay, it's like the conclusion that my book is infallible.
Yeah.
I use historical evidence
How would historical evidence
for the
support the
Quran. We have
conclusion that
manuscripts. We
how
have
would
man
manuscripts
we
and
have
historical evidence support the conclusion that the book is infallible?
yeah. Okay, so we just have to establish is that the book is the same from the time it was written down to today. So if we can establish that, and then we can establish that the person writing down the book and the people, I mean, the person reciting the book to the people writing down the book have no reason to corrupt the book, then we can
Well, they
establish
could just be wrong.
they could be wrong about what.
Like they could be wrong, they could be mistaken about the interpretation of like how they were hearing it and when they were writing it down, or they could just be
That doesn't
making
that
it up,
doesn't that doesn't
right?
fall. They couldn't. I mean, would you
There's
say that
obviously
one
alternative
thousand? I'm saying
explanations for
like
how the book could come into
because
existence,
we
right?
have we have what's it called? We have a narration chain of like thousands of people saying the same thing, and then
Well,
we have like hundreds of manuscripts of like the same exact same thing.
but how do you get to the conclusion that the book is infallible?
What do you mean like infallible?
Like it can't be wrong in any capacity.
Oh, because it's directly from God.
Okay, but that's an assumption, right?
hmm So how? So you want me to prove that? What's it called? My religious book is from God directly.
Right, yeah, because it seems dubious to
hmm
accept that it's the inspiration of God.
No, not the inspiration direct with. So for this, like for my what's it called? For my argument to follow and me to be right about this, saying that we have access to God, how God wants us to act. That would prove this your argument wrong if I just prove that my
Mm-mm,
book
no, no,
is
no, no. You need to show that you like we would have access to God, like directing the uh scripture or whatever.
oh just God what's it called? Revealing the book. Like my
But that's
evidence.
another assumption.
Which how?
Because where's the evidence that the God revealed the book?
I mean I can't prove to you 100% that
Okay, well then it's
God God
clearly
God
fallible.
God is the one. I mean I can't prove to you like 100% that God is the one that gave the book right to him because
But
we
that's the
didn't have.
assumption you were putting forward for me to accept just a second ago, and now you're
I'm saying
going back on it.
is the most likely explanation.
Okay, well, even if it is the most likely explanation, that's
Mhm.
still not going to be infallibility and like certainty that it came from
What do you
God,
mean
right?
by
There's still
infallible? Hold on, let me see.
like like you couldn't be
Infallible.
wrong. Like the
Inability
book
to.
couldn't be wrong, and you couldn't be wrong about it being directed by God.
Infallible. No, let me see what infallibility means real quick.
No worries.
To be wrong, quality of being error free in a rule. Okay, what would I need to do to prove that the book is infallible?
Yeah, like if you could provide uncontestable evidence that, for one, the book is right in everything that it says.
Hmm.
and then two, that it was clearly directed from God, then I would say there's no infallibility,
Okay,
or
so
there's no fallibility. Sorry.
for one, I would have to prove that the book is from God. Is
I,
that a fair one?
sorry.
Is starting off with proving that the book is from God. Would that be okay?
Yeah, yeah, you can start with that. That's fine.
Okay. So I don't know how to do this. Okay, to do this, would you accept that if Prophet Muhammad, if the prophet that sent the book down was a true prophet from God, that does would you necessarily say that means the book is from God?
Um, well, I actually think there could be well, sorry, can you repeat it?
So if I was to prove that the person that brought the book down was a prophet from God, would you then grant that the book is from God?
Yeah, but it seems kind of like we're moving the claim back to, instead of being the book directed from God, we're getting a prophet that's directed from God that's directing the book. So we're
No.
kind of just
No, no,
moving
no. The
back
prophet, the
the.
prophet is not directing the book. The prophet is reciting the book. Like the book is 100% from God. The prophet is just the one reciting it to the people. We,
Okay, yeah, well,
yeah.
regardless, the same problem still remains. It's just, how do you get to the idea that the prophet is being directed by God?
No, that's the whole consensus. If I can prove the prophet is a prophet from God, right? Does
Right,
that would
but how do you
yeah.
prove that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm asking you. Like if I can prove to you the prophet was a prophet from God, would that necessitate that uh the book is from God too?
I actually think it's still kind of dubious, but we can just grant that that connection is there for a second. So how would you motivate um,
Okay.
that the prophet is directed by God?
So for one, I would go by his character, the miracle he brought down, the Quran, prophecies that he gave, and miracles and physical impact. So, like, I'm gonna ask you a question real quick. What would you say is a reason somebody would come out and be a false prophet?
Well, just like try to motivate why we should accept that the prophet is like being directed by God.
No, no. I'm saying is why would somebody claim to be a prophet when he knows he's not a prophet? Like, what would his motives be? What would some of his motives be?
He could have a lot of different motives.
Can you like give me some
Yeah, if he wanted to manipulate people.
manipulate? Yeah, just that alone.
No, there's a lot of motives, but like, instead of like asking me questions, can you just kind of motivate why you think, like, what would be like the strongest evidence you have for motivating the claim that the prophet Muhammad is directed by God?
Okay, so I would say number one, the number one reason I think he's a prophet from God is because of the book, the actual book he brought down. Like
Okay, well then
many, yeah, many.
we
Hold on.
risk running a problem of circularity, because the thing that we were trying to use to justify that the book is directed
No,
by
no, no, no,
God
no, no, no.
is
Hold
the
on.
prophet, and now we're saying that the thing we're using to justify that the
No,
prophet
no,
is
no.
directed by
That's
God is the
that's
book.
that's that's one of the things. That's not the main thing. That's the main thing, but that's one of the things. I have other reasons.
Well, that one in particular seems circular for the reason I just mentioned.
How so? I'm not talking about what the book says about him. I'm not using the what the book says about him to say, oh, because the book says this, that must mean he's a true prophet. I'm saying about like the style of the like how the book is written and stuff like that. I'm not saying because the book says this, that means it's true. That would be secular.
So how do you motivate that the prophet is directed by God?
Okay, so for one, the miracle of the book he brought down. So the prophet was the prophet was said to be somebody that didn't know how to read or write. So if this was true, then he wouldn't be able to even write this. And the poets and artists in his time, like they didn't have the ability to write anything like the book he brought down. And in the book itself, it gives the challenge to produce like a verse or chapter like the book. and nobody in the prophet's time was able to do this. And the book itself contains like historical and scientific details that nobody in the 7th century had knowledge of. Do you want examples of those, or
Yeah, I mean, why why think that the prophet, or I mean the guy, whoever, just like didn't know how to write?
hmm?
Why think that he didn't know how to read or write?
Or why? How do we know How do we know the prophet didn't know how to read and write? Well,
Okay, but like are you just like chat GPTing all this?
no, I'm using
I hear
website.
you like typing all this.
Yeah, because I want to give you the sources for how we know that he didn't know how to read and write. I just don't want to
But
give
you're
you.
not giving me any sources. You're just like inserting more claims that might explain this thing. And
You
it
just.
seems like you could just do that without like looking it up. But
I mean, I could just give it to you, but I don't want to make any mistakes of how we know. I don't. How do we know the prophet knew how to read and write? But I want to give you the actual. I want to say it and then give it to you so you can search it up yourself. Or I could just tell you how we know without the source.
well, if you have a source, that's good.
Yeah,
You just haven't given any other sources and you've been like looking up all this other stuff, so I didn't think you were giving any sources. I thought you were just going to keep looking up more claims that sort of fit in with the theodicy.
give me a second. Okay, so we know the prophet didn't know how to read and write because we have eyewitness accounts of this in the hadiths. If you want the, do you want the hadith number so you can search it up?
Um, where does the hadith come from though?
The
What is
hadith is
that?
from the companions of Prophet Muhammad, so the people around him.
So how would you rule out an explanation like they just had motivation to say something like he didn't know how to read or write?
How do we know they're not lying?
Right, right.
Okay, so we know they're not lying because in the hadith, what's it called? In the hadith science, how they what's it called? How they preserve the hadith is they don't store the hadiths of anybody they know to be fabricators or anybody that has bad character. So they wouldn't take hadith accounts from people that lie. Like if you lie twice, then automatically none of your narrations of hadith will be stored. So they don't take the hadith narrations of people that lie
Well, how would they
at all.
know is the question.
Because
'Cause-
I mean, you would have to if you're saying one of them lied, then you would have to say like more like around 10 or 20 of them lied just for this one thing. And
well,
all this,
I'm not even saying any of them lied. I'm saying how do you know none of them did lie?
yeah, we know some of them did lie. That's why some of the hadiths are not stored or
Oh, well then
counted as sahih.
that's actually just more reason to reject any of the hadiths,
How
right? Because
so?
if you have reason to believe that at least some of the hadiths were in fact lies,
hmm No. Some of the hadiths, not the sahih, the authentic hadiths. Any account of the prophet is called a hadith, but we only take the account. What's it called? Authentic ones, or the ones proven authentic.
and how do you come to the conclusion that ones are authentic or inauthentic?
Yeah, because you had to have multiple narrations of the same thing, and all of them have to be from what's it called? That all of them have to be from truthful, accountable people. We had to be able to prove that they
You
It
kind of
went
just
a
have to
bit.
assume that they were truthful for you to
No, no,
accept whether or
we had
not
to
they're
be able to
truthful,
prove.
though.
We had to be able to prove that it was truthful
Okay, but I'm saying, how do you prove that they're truthful?
because you have multiple people saying the same thing in one sitting time.
But that's compatible with them lying as well.
All of them
So I don't
lying.
see how you're ruling out the alternative explanation.
All of them lying in once. Like 20 people lying about one singular thing seems
Yeah, yeah.
like it seems
Like
very unlikely.
have you ever heard of conspiracy theories?
I'm saying like 20 people lying about the same thing in the same time seems very unlikely to me.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, I have, but
Do you not think that that's like an example of like probably more than 20 people lying about the exact same thing?
20 people lying about the exact same thing. I mean, I'm just telling you how they do it. How do we prove that all those people were not lying? I mean, what reason did they have to lie about? Just him saying all he said was, let me see, what did he say? In the All he said was, "Show me where my name is written." Why would 20 people lie about that?
Well, asking a question about why they would lie doesn't really get us to the conclusion that they absolutely wouldn't lie and that we have proof that they didn't lie, right? So
Mhm.
when you ask that question, it doesn't really help the argument in any way.
Okay, so we know. Okay, so the best way they can prove that the people that telling the hadiths are not liars. So the people that study hadith will look at the biography of everybody in the chain. So they will look at everything they said in the past, ensuring like they're truthful people and they have good memory, and they people around them didn't know them for lying or just making up heresies or errors. And then they will look at the isnad of the narration chain, making sure that the person reporting the hadith doesn't have a broken link back to the prophet.
Uh,
That's the main two.
okay. I think I'm just gonna move on to my next guest, but I appreciate you coming up, man.
All right,
All right, have a good rest of your day.
you too.
What's up, Rancho?
What's up?
Did you want to talk about the prompt?
Yeah, are you just saying, I mean, are you just trying to talk about like the problem of evil, or like is there a certain point that you were trying to talk about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you read the paper by Luis Oliveira, or however you say his name?
What's the name of it? I don't think so.
It's called like gratuitous evil, and um, I actually can't remember the rest of the title, but it starts with like
Luis Oliveira. I no, I haven't. Oh, God and Gratuitous Evil?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I haven't, but I'll take a look at it. I guess the only real stuff that I've read on the PoE is like I've read like the Oppie paper from like 2013 where he talks about like skeptical theism, and then I don't know. I like listened to some stuff about like Perry Hendricks and like skeptical theism. And I guess like I read like the OG William Rowe paper where he talks about like the fawn burning.
Got you, got you. Yeah, I've read like Mackey's paper a whole bunch of times, and I just read this one. Well, I've actually read like a couple others, but I'm like not nearly as solid on like the evidential problems of evil and stuff. But yeah, so like this background is just supposed to say something like if God has reasons, like if we accept that God has reasons for allowing all the evils that we see, and those reasons are normatively justifying, um, and we want to be in alignment with God's values, then we would also accept those normatively justifying reasons for all the evils we see. And so we wouldn't really have motivation if we want to be like, or we would have like more motivation to be in alignment with God's reasons than our intuitions for preventing some evil that we
I
see.
don't think I don't think that follows, right? Because there seems to be some sort of difference between God's reasons and our reasons. Like presumably God has some reason to, maybe albeit a weak one, but God has some reason to allow his creations to develop independently, but obviously we don't because we're part of creation, et cetera, et cetera. Like seems like God God has reasons for doing certain things that are going to be very different than human reasons for doing that, right?
Right, right. So like then we would need to defend the asymmetry between God having reasons for permitting some evils. Those reasons could look something like achieving some greater good or preventing some greater evil, and then accepting or defending the asymmetry, which would be um, affirming that, and then also affirming that we have reasons for preventing those evils. Um,
Um, okay. So the first issue is I think God can have other reasons other than just like, okay, maybe this just stems from how we talk about gratuitous evils, but what do you just take a gratuitous evil to be?
uh, I actually don't really know how he cashes out specifically gratuitous evil. I think he just kind of makes a distinction between pointless evil and evil that serves a purpose for some greater good or prevention of some greater evil. So, um, the pointless evil just wouldn't occur because God wouldn't have a reason for that. So, if we accept that God has reasons for allowing all the evils we see, then pointless evils wouldn't occur. And
Well,
but if you don't accept reasons, then for why God would allow evils, then you get like a different horn of the argument, basically.
the reason why I ask is it seems like it seems like there's a couple of different like there's different ways of talking about gratuitous evils. And it seems the one that you're talking about is kind of like value based, where like an evil is gratuitous if um it like an
I
evil
actually
is
have no. I
gratuitous.
have sorry. I have no clue how he's talking about gratuitous evils, and honestly, I don't really have a good concept of gratuitous evils either. So I kind of don't really use that language. Um,
Yeah. Well, I guess so. Generally, like when people talk about it, they kind of talk about like the value. So they say like an evil is gratuitous if it wasn't needed to prevent it wasn't needed to like allow a greater good or prevent like a worse off evil. So basically, like if like
okay.
removing it wouldn't lead to like less value in the world. But there's also a different sense of gratuitous evil, which is talking about the reasons behind it, some sort of like deontological formulation, where like an evil is gratuitous if God had more reasons to stop that evil than to allow that evil. So, and I think there could be an evil that's gratuitous, like in the value sense, but it's not necessarily gratuitous in the sort of reason sense. Like God might have more reasons in favor of allowing this action, but this action could also cause like less value in the world. I think that makes sense.
Do you think? And this is kind of just me trying to like understand gratuitous evil because I think the first way you put it is how um Oliveira like tries to put it forward like by saying pointless evil. I think that's what he means, like the first sense of what you meant by pointless evil. But the second sense is kind of hard for me to understand. You're saying there could be evils that God has more reasons to prevent than to allow, and he would still allow them?
No. I think the latter formulation, if there's a, I don't think that there could be like God could have like could exist if there were like sort of deontological gratuitous evils. I don't think that's compatible. I'm saying I just think there's certain evils which you might classify as gratuitous in the like value sense, like the axiological sense, like the first formulation that I gave, but they're actually not considered gratuitous in the secondary sense. I think that's possible.
Can you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, okay. So this first sort of formulation is like the axiological formulation, where you're talking about the value or utility, roughly speaking, provided by an action. And then the second sort of sense is the deontological sense, where you're talking about the reasons for, or the reasons God has for allowing certain things. So I just think that there can be some evils that in the axiological sense are gratuitous, but they're actually not gratuitous in the deontological sense.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I think I agree with that. You're just making a distinction between consequentialist and non-consequentialist reasons.
Kind of. I guess here might be like a good example. Like, okay, let's say, you and I have some sort of arrangement to go to dinner or something, and that's going to result in, let's say, 100 units of like utility or something like that. And then it comes up that, another one of your friends, say Kason wants to, go play ping pong with you, but, you already like promised to go to dinner with me or something. And let's say ping pong's really fun, right? And that would actually produce like 110 units of utility. Well, it still seems that you should go to dinner, even if it provides less sort of units of utility or less sort of value to the world. And the reason is you have some sort of prior commitment to do so, like, you should hold up your word or something like that. So there's more reasons that count in favor of the action. So
Mm-hmm.
similarly, there's probably more reasons that count in favor of God allowing certain things, but maybe they provide less value. That's like sort of the case that's being talked about here.
Okay, so I actually understand what you're saying now, and I think it creates like sort of a stronger problem for the theist in some way because then we're sort of saying something like if God has like the divine right or like a divine commitment to allowing the evils to occur for whatever reason, like for some greater good. So like so he there's like a combination of the greater good or the prevention of the greater evils for why he's allowing evils to occur, and he has the right to do so. Well, then, if we're in alignment with God's values, um, we, even though we might not have that right to allow the evils the same way he does, we would sort of just like default to what he has rights to. So we would want to be in alignment with his rights instead of like trying to violate those rights or something like that. So I think it kind of creates like a stronger problem if we wanted to say he has the right to allow evils for some greater good or the prevention of some greater evil, then we would be like almost obligated to not interfere with the evils that we see because of the greater good that would be achieved, and we don't want to violate his right in allowing that evil to occur.
Yeah, I don't quite agree with that because basically, okay, the point about the deontological skeptical theism with the deontological gratuitous evils isn't one about like if God has a right to do X or not. It's just, well, why would it's just trying to push back on the sort of, well, it's trying to push back on what we classify as a gratuitous evil and what would provide reasons against God, right? So it seems that in fact, the type of gratuitous evil that God is incompatible with is not the axiological one, but the deontological one. And maybe this case can sort of illustrate why I think there's an asymmetry. Let's say you're driving on the highway and your daughter's like sitting in the back, right? Now you see the car in front of you, indicate their like turn signal. Well, that seems to be a reason for you to think that they're going to turn right. But if your daughter saw that car and saw the blinking light, well, that wouldn't be a reason for her because she has no idea about like how cars work and what turn signals are and all that stuff. So it seems that you would be justified in believing the car is about to turn right, but your daughter wouldn't, even though you guys are both given the same information, and that's just due to your sort of like epistemic commitments, right? It seems that you have more knowledge and more availability.
Mm-hmm.
So another way to think about this is, well, comparative to God, I mean, we're far more insignificant than even like children when it comes to like our epistemic capabilities. So why would we think it's the case that, you know, we would have, it seems that we can pretty easily divorce our sort of reasons from his in the same sense that, you can divorce, your daughter's sort of reasons from, you when you're on the road.
Right. No, yeah, of course, of course. But you would also say, like, in that analogy, that the reasons that you have when you're driving the car sort of outweigh whatever reasons you would have as, like, the daughter. Sorry, yeah, any reasons that the daughter would have for thinking that whatever was going to happen actually like wasn't the correct assessment of the situation, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. She just doesn't have the sort of epistemic faculties that are required in order to go about
Right.
this.
So then the analogy sort of becomes like if we don't have the epistemic faculties that God has, even if we don't know what the reasons are for why God's permitting these evils, but we like take for granted that he's all good and he has divine foreknowledge, then it seems to be the case that even if we don't have access to those reasons, we should just defer to them in allowing and not interfering with whatever evils occur.
Wait, that doesn't follow because I'm just saying there's certain reasons that God has that wouldn't even apply to us, right? Like the case that I gave in the beginning about allowing creation to develop freely. Obviously, we don't have like that's not even in the sort of space of reasons that we have, right? Like because we're part of creation, so why would we have that reason?
Well,
Similarly,
no, well, okay, but well, when you say we don't have that reason, maybe I'm trying to understand that part a little bit better. What do you mean by that?
okay, the point that I'm trying to say is when you look at the sort of space of reasons, right? So the space of reasons just being, all sorts of things that could possibly be reasons for us to act in certain ways. Well, it seems that the space of reasons for God will include certain reasons that don't even apply to humans. And the case that I gave was, God has some reason to allow creation to develop um, without outside interference or something. But obviously, humans can't have that reason because humans are a part of creation, right? Like it's kind of silly. Like that's not even a reason that's applicable to us.
Uh, I mean, I'm trying to understand it a little bit better, honestly. Like, I think I'm still having trouble because, like, if I don't know, it just kind of makes intuitive sense to me to say, like, if God has that reason and He has divine foreknowledge and He's all good, well, then it seems like we would just share that reason with Him
Well,
because we
I don't think
trust Him.
that's true, right? Because let's say that
You think that's
um
true, or did you say that's
no,
not true?
I don't think that's true. Because look,
Oh,
let's just
okay.
say, okay, the bare bones example is, look, your neighbor has a reason to, um, feed her children, but obviously I don't have a reason to feed her children, right? Something along those lines, or I don't share that same reason, right? Your neighbor's reason to feed her children is, your neighbor has some sort of duty,
Right, right.
some sort of
Yeah, yeah.
relationship, but you
Hmm.
don't share that same relationship, so you can't have that reason.
Yeah,
Similarly, God has a certain relationship to his creation that we don't have. And in virtue of this relationship to his creation, he has certain reasons that we aren't privy to. And these reasons would be things like allowing creation to develop freely or allowing creation to make faults in certain ways in order to develop other features in order to allow for certain eternal goods or something of that nature. Or
right,
there's
right.
probably a bunch that are just unknown to us because of our cognitive faculties. The point is just to say that look, when we act, we should act in a way that has most reason to do. And it seems that if I see, a kid getting like beaten up on the side of the street, I have most reasons to stop him. Now it seems like God doesn't share those reasons because maybe there's other reasons that only He has in other that are like countervailing or in addition to.
Right. They
Does that
would
make
be like
sense?
agent relative reasons or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the okay, so I think the analogy is pretty good. It like shows the intuition of how we think about agent relative reasons. But then if we're also like going under the assumption that like if we were to equalize the situations and say that your neighbor who has more reasons to take care of her children than you do, um if she has like divine foreknowledge and she's all good, then it seems like we would just defer to those reasons instead of trusting our own reasons. Does that make sense?
Well, when you say defer to those reasons, are you just saying we should just Okay, the issue is you literally can't defer to some of the reasons because they don't apply to you, right? Like you can't like as a part of creation, you can't say, well, look, I have a creation, I have some sort of um,
Like you
I
would
have
be in
some sort of
agreement. Like you would be in agreement with those reasons, basically.
no, because they literally don't apply to you. Like even if I knew that, God has some sort of reason to allow creation to develop, that doesn't give me a reason to not interfere because that's still exclusive to only him. It's not a question of, if we're more or less epistemically privileged. It's a question of, well, who do these reasons sort of apply to? Who's the sort of, who's like the like who's the subject of, the reasons? And I just think that there exists reasons that can only apply to God.
I think I struggle to understand that honestly, because uh, it just seems like I don't know, and maybe maybe we might just be going in circles a little bit because the way I'm thinking about it, I'm just thinking if God has a reason and I trust God, well then I have a reason that's in alignment with whatever God's reason is, even though I might not understand that reason.
Look, that's okay. That's not to say that for some reasons God has, we should defer judgment. Like, presumably, God has a reason to, create. Okay, what's like an example that I can give? Because okay, let's say God has a reason to not prevent all suffering, right?
Uh huh.
Okay. So, oh wait, the case that Hyper gave was pretty good, right? Saying the king has reason to banish someone, and then you trust in the king's judgment. That doesn't give you a reason to banish someone, right?
Well, it gives you reason to be in alignment with the decision or the outcome of the banishment, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so similarly, the outcome of the evil or the consequence of the evil occurring is something you have reason to be in alignment with because even if you don't know what the reason that God has is for allowing it, you trust him and he has divine foreknowledge and he's all good.
Well, yeah, that gives you. I mean, that gives you reasons to think that God has a plan, and you should trust God's plan. But that doesn't give you reason to like be endorsing some sort of radical skepticism.
Well, it's actually not like radical skepticism. It's more so saying it's more so like pointed. It's like saying uh because God has a reason for allowing these evils, um, and those reasons being like he has like deontological reasons or consequential reasons. Um, whatever outcomes we see, like all the evils that we see, even though we don't know what the reasons are, if we're in alignment with God's reasons, like we just trust him because he has divine foreknowledge and he's all good, then it's not like a radical skepticism, it's more so like a moral paralysis in some way because it pulls against like our intuitions. Like when we see like a drowning child, we usually think like the good thing to do is to go and save that child. But if we
Yeah,
have
because look, you have more reasons in favor of saving the child than you have against her. Like,
right. Yeah, like that's like what like calls out to our intuitions or something, right? Like it like screams at us. I mean, most of us at least, or I hope.
yeah, I
Um
agree.
but
But just because, well, it's okay. The point that I'm trying to make is, I don't think you're committed to the sort of moral skepticism where you don't know what's good or not, or you're incapable of making decisions or something like that, because you're a part of creation, right? Like the whole point is that even if you sort of trust in God and you kind of trust that He has reasons for allowing these things, you're not, well, one, you don't know what those reasons are, so you have reason to think that um, actually you should act in a certain way. Um,
well, but the thing is it's like you don't know that God allowing this evil to occur that he's preventing some greater evil or allowing some greater good to come from it. And so if you don't want to interfere with God's desire to have that outcome, then you'd have motivation to not interfere in the evil that you see.
Wait, that's okay. That's not true because God has. Okay, just think about it like this, right? Let's say there's a drowning child.
Not like exclusive motivation. Obviously, you'd have other like intuitions
No,
where
no, I
like you.
agree. I'm just
Okay,
saying
okay.
all things considered. Okay, just cash it out this way, right? Let's say there's a drowning child and you can save him, right? Well, what are some reasons in favor or against? Well, one reason you have that's in favor is this you have some intuitions or whatever. Then you look at God, right? God has the reasons God has in favor of maybe not saving this child would be something like God has reasons to not interfere with creation, right? Well, that's not a reason that you have. God has reason to allow for, like, let's say, some sort of like eternal goods or something of that
Oh,
kind, right?
you cut out there a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, look, there's certain features, there's certain reasons when you kind of evaluate this holistically, and there's certain restrictions that God has that you don't have, and there's certain restrictions you have that God does not have, right? God is restricted in what he can do because he can't interfere in everything. He presumably has reasons against that, but you don't have those sort of restrictions. So you actually should save this drowning child. And it's very obvious you should. I don't know why, just the case that maybe God has some reason against, that doesn't give us. I just think you should be agnostic on that because there's no there's no good reason to think that the perceived weight of God's reasons matches the sort of actual weight of his reasons. Meaning that there's no reason to think that there's no point in thinking like, oh well God has a reason to do it. Well, you don't know that, right? There's no sort of there's no justified reason to think that the perceived weight of his reasons matches the actual ones.
Wait, you don't think God has like sufficient reasons for allowing evil in all cases?
No, I think he has stuff. I think he has. Well, I mean, okay. To be fair, I don't hold to the sort of perfect being theism. I'm more
Oh,
agnostic, but
okay,
look,
fair enough.
under some sort of perfect being theism, yeah, he would always have more reasons in favor. But you have to look at the nature of those reasons, right? Those reasons are agent relative. There's certain restrictions um, that apply only to that particular agent. So when you act, you just aren't privy to those. Now, under some, I mean, I think this issue is sort of entirely circumvented by limited being theism because, well, like God might actually not be able to prevent that. So, like, you should. So, I think that issue is like almost entirely circumvented.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, yeah. Like there are ways to like respond to it that retain the asymmetry between your reasons and God's reasons. There's actually like multiple different ways to retain that. But one of the problems I see with like the response you just gave is something like, okay, if God, if one of, if, or like, yeah, if God's reason for allowing the evil to occur um, is that you have like the choice in preventing the evil or allowing it. Like, is that accurate to what you just said?
Well, kind of. It's just saying that when you make moral judgments, what matters are your reasons, right? You have reasons in favor, reasons against, and it happens the way that you cash it out, right? I'm just saying God's reasons have little to no like bearing on that, right? I don't know why we would say, oh, just because God has some reason X to allow or prevent this, therefore we have some reason X to allow or prevent this. That's the sort of inference that I'm trying to block.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree. If you, I well, yeah. So there, so like what I was trying to say, like if like you can, there are responses that uh can account for the asymmetry between God's reasons and your reasons. Um, It's just that those responses still seem unpalatable in some ways, and so that's why I was trying to make sure I'm like steel manning exactly what the asymmetrical reason that you're giving is, because I thought of something that might seem unpalatable, but I was trying to make sure I understood it properly.
Yeah, yeah. I think you got a grasp of it.
Okay, so yeah, if God's reason for allowing or permitting these evils to occur is so that you might have the choice to allow or permit the evil to occur in the face of the evil, then um, I don't know. It sort of seems like God might be like indifferent to which option you choose, because
I
if He
don't think
gives you,
that follows because presumably when making moral deliberation, you should do what like okay, God having justification and allowing God being justified in permitting evil, let's say evil E1, doesn't entail that you're justified in like allowing evil E1, right? Like just because God is justified in allowing a child to drown or something like that doesn't mean that you're justified in allowing a child to drown.
well, if God's reasons are normatively justifying, then uh, it just seems like we could similarly say that whatever the reason is, it would also be normatively justifying for us for not to not
Yeah,
save
yeah,
one
that
another.
doesn't follow at all because God, like God having a reason doesn't entail that we have a reason, right? Like I don't know why we would have any reason to think that.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think I just might share a different intuition about like maybe we're talking about like a different kind of God or something, because I'm talking about a God who like it is like a personal type of God, wants to have a relationship with its creation, is all good, has divine foreknowledge, things like that. So I'm
Yeah, I
saying
mean
like
I agree. Even under
if
that
they're
notion, it still doesn't follow.
well, if they're similar in those ways, and the reason that he gives is normatively justifying, then it's hard to see how um, it wouldn't be normatively justifying in the case of a human who had like similar values.
Well, because of agent-centered constraints, right? Like, how do I put it? Okay, let's say that living next door, there was this sort of like epistemically perfect neighbor who just knew everything and like had full awareness of all the normative facts,
Hmm.
right? Let's say, and it turns out that in this sort of world, it turns out that if you have access to all the normative facts, it turns out that veganism is actually false or something like that. Okay,
Right.
now let's say that you look at your neighbor and you have you know that she's sort of like epistemically perfect or something of this nature, and your neighbor is consuming animal products. I don't
Uh-huh.
think this gives you license to then consume animal products, right? Like,
Well, if we're baking in that she has access to the normative facts, and one of the normative facts, like I guess objectively speaking, is that veganism is false, then I mean, don't you take like an ought to be a reason?
no, no. Okay, the point that I'm trying to make is you're okay. I'm stipulating in this world that that's the reason why she's licensed to eating them. But from your eyes, it could be tons of different cases. It could be the case that maybe this
Of course.
individual.
But if you believe that she has access to those normative facts, and you like trust that, then you would have like a second order reason to be in alignment with those normative facts that you trust.
Wait,
from your neighbor,
I
right?
don't I don't follow. No, no, it doesn't follow from that because all you know of is that she's like some perfect epistemic being, right? She has
Hmm.
access to every single normative fact,
Yeah, yeah.
and that allows her to commit what seems to be some sort of immoral action in one case. Now, that doesn't give you license to go commit an immoral action in another case because presumably it might actually turn out to be the case that the action you're about to commit is immoral, and she just knows that the action that she committed specifically was morally permissible, right? Now it turns out in this case that the action that you could commit, that you're going to commit, is actually morally justified as well. But I'm just saying you don't have a reason to think that. Like you're not licensed in thinking that, or well, you might be licensed in thinking that in the case of, well, maybe it raises the probability of thinking that, or the probability that that proposition is true, but it's not like logically entailed, right?
I do kind of see what you're saying.
Like it would be some sort of inductive inference.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I mean, if you're like taking for granted that she has access to all the epistemic normative facts, then you
I know,
wouldn't
but
even
think
you
about it
wouldn't
like
even
this, right?
doubt.
Well,
Oh,
one of
sorry.
the one of the reasons why she's consuming animal products could be, well, actually, it turns out veganism is true, but that animal product was actually, you actually had to consume that specific animal product in order to prevent great amounts of suffering down the line or something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
That could be the case. Like it seems that there's like tons of different like epistemic possibilities that you're just not privy to, right? So what should you
Right.
do in this situation? Well, it seems that you should still continue to be a vegan. It seems that you still have reasons in favor of not consuming animal products despite seeing this occur. Now, in the God case, I think it's even more detached because God has reasons that just we don't share, right? Like we just like presumably in this case, this your sort of perfect neighbor and you share all the normative facts, right? Like all the normative facts apply to your neighbor and you. But I think there's certain obligations that we have that God doesn't have. And I think there's certain, restrictions that God has on how he can act that we don't have. Just in nature of the relationship between God and his creation and the fact that we are, you know, part of creation, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think that's fine. Did you want to say something, Paris?
Yeah, I was kind of curious. Like, when you say the occurrence of evil, you're talking from our point of view, right? Not from the point of view of God, right?
Um, well, I'm talking about both.
I don't know about this. Okay. Wait, so Rancho was saying that you don't have reasons to not interfere with the occurrence of evil? Or is he saying that you do have reasons? I'm
No, he's
curious.
saying you don't. Like there could be, given that there's like different constraints. I mean, I think I understand what you're saying, Rancho. Like you're saying that
I think you should interfere. Yeah,
What
you
about
think
if
you wait, you think you should or shouldn't?
you should interfere. Like if you see a
Yeah,
drowning
yeah, yeah.
child, you should definitely go save them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Okay, what was
what
your question, Paris?
what about in the cases where if God exists, it's highly probable that he designed the person that way. Like, let's say a person is designed in such a way that, I don't know, they have chronic pain or something, and we have a remedy, but it's the case that God designed them in that way. Do we have, like, a good reason to, like, not interfere there?
No, because it seems like you also like I never understood this case because it seems like equally probable of the other case where like God actually created this person so that we would aid them or something like that. And then, you just take all those epistemic possibilities and they all just kind of zero out. And then you're just left with your base intuitions.
But that doesn't seem to be the case in cases that were prior to the fact that we had the remedy, right? Like, um, I don't want to give like hypotheticals with time machines because it's going to get really messy, but like prior to the existence of the remedy or any like methods to like decrease the pain of the person, God still
Yeah, you
made
just
it
say
that way.
God created this person so we would develop a remedy, and that would help them and a lot of other people. That seems plausible.
Okay, so in the existence of like certain very specific diseases where the remedy won't help other people but just that person or that type of diseases, God invented that disease just so that we can invent a remedy to that specific disease, and all the people that were suffering prior were to invent the remedy to a disease that he created to invent for us to invent the remedy.
No, I'm just saying that there's no reason, okay, there's no sort of public antecedent reason to think that the perceived weight of God's reasons match the actual weight. So when you say, well, it seems like we have good reason to think that God did X, I just reject that. I don't think that's true whatsoever. I think there's a nigh infinite amount of different possibilities why God allowed X. And then, we can't really assign probability values to any of them. So there's an infinite amount in favor and an infinite amount against, each with equal value. So they kind of just zero out, and then we're just left to, our own devices.
So like the norms that God makes don't actually matter under your view.
What do you mean
If
by
you
the
have like
norms that
no reason to let's say that God made a norm such that it said you shouldn't cure those people, right? But we just weren't aware that this norm existed, but this norm exists. Like we don't have any reason, even if we were talking about counterfactual reasons to follow that norm.
with the reasons in favor of, well, wait, trivially, if we don't have access to the norm, then how do we have reasons in favor of following
I'm
that norm?
talking counterfactually, even counterfactual reasons.
Oh, I don't, like, when you talk about counterfactual reasons, are you saying they're a reason, or something is a reason if and only, or like, if it is the case that counterfactually it would be a reason? Or it
Yeah,
would count in
like
favor? Wait, I
saying, like
reject that. Wait, I don't think reason. I don't think that encapsulates reasons.
you don't think that counterfactual reasons, like are a type of reason? Like for example,
Not in the way that you're talking about them.
had you known this fact, you shouldn't have done this. That's not a reason.
Yeah, no, because think about this case, right? Let's say you're on a game show and there's two buttons,
Yeah.
and then one of the buttons will like give you like $1,000, and then the other button has like a question mark on it, and like the game show host like won't tell you anything about it, and then it turns out that actually what it does is it saves like this African child from being like BOMB'd, but
Yeah, you want to say
you
that you don't have a reason to press that button?
yeah, I don't think you have a reason to press that button. And let's say some random guy in the audience knows it, right? So then you press the $1,000, and in the counterfactual world, you would say the child, right? But I don't think that I don't think that's a reason to press the question mark. I think there is a reason. I
But
just
what
don't think you have
about
a reason.
what about like what do you think about categorical reasons then?
When you say categorical reasons, what do you mean?
I'm talking about the type of reasons that realists talk about, like reasons that apply to you regardless of like your preferences or your constitutive nature. Like it's a
Like, are you
reason.
talking about some sort of objective list theory?
No, like you can take any realist, pretty much any realist
Well,
view
I
of
mean, I'm
like
an internalist about
whatever.
reasons. I think that reasons internalism is true.
Right, but look, like, let's say the Platonic forms actually exist. You just, like, grasp their content somehow, sometimes, and sometimes you don't. But whether or not, like, you agree, let's say one of the Platonic thing is, like, abortion is wrong or abortion is right? And, like,
Yeah, that gives you a reason to not abort.
okay, but you are not aware of that Platonic form. But
Oh, well,
there
then you
is a
don't have a
reason to
reason
exist.
to not abort. I think you have a reason when you come into contact with a certain moral fact and you're acting rationally. Like if you're engaging in rational deliberation and you come to the conclusion that veganism is true, that provides you a reason to not buy chicken at the supermarket.
I'm not sure if I agree. I do kind of agree with counterfactual reasons. I'm not
Even in
sure if I'm
the
an internalist or an externalist about reasons. Probably an internalist, to be fair. But
Wait, Paris, can you give one more example, or like the same example you gave about counterfactual reasons, just so I can make sure I'm tracking that?
yeah, like an easy one is like you have a glass with like seemingly water inside of it, but it's
Oh
actually a
my
glass of
god.
poison. And
It's actually guys of what?
it's actually a glass of poison. Like it's something that's gonna kill you. Instead of H2O, it's like H2O or whatever.
It's wiper fluid. That's the case.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Like, do you have a reason to not drink it counterfactually had you known that the glass is not actually water, right? But that's a counterfactual type of reason. But what most people will say if you're an internalist is that you don't actually have a reason to not drink, except if
Wait,
you want to say that you have a reason if had you known that the glass was actually
Lily,
water.
isn't this like the propositional and doxastic justification thing all over again? Like, look, there's third person reasons why you shouldn't drink it, but there's first person reasons to drink it.
Right. Yeah,
That
it's
the
pretty
sort
much.
of the two level approach seems to solve all those problems.
Yeah, I'm kind of agnostic on the claim on the board. I'm probably more going towards like no, but at the same time, if you want to say that God has a plan and everything he puts into effect is because of his like plan for the greater good, then maybe you have reasons not to interrupt the plan or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what Drake was talking about back in 2018, I think.
Yeah, Drake did talk about this virtuously. Yay, too, actually. No, but seriously, like, imagine if, like, God gives children cancer because that's gonna actually promote unaliving the devil because the devil can, like, be unalived by, like, the children with cancer. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe there's a reason not to give them chemo. I don't know, man. That might be
Yeah,
the
but
case.
there's just infinite reasons for and against, and then they all have equal probability, and then they just cancel each
Well,
other out. So
that's still... But then you still agree that you have a reason not to interfere with evil. Even if it's not the type of reason that will sway the judgment, you still agree that there is such a reason that exists.
well, when you say there's a reason, it seems like you're equivocating on like the sort of like epistemic reasons versus like the other stuff. Like it's an
I think that's
epistemic
what we know.
possibility. Wait,
Like
do you
it
think
would be
that? Wait, sorry. Say what you're saying.
it would be like a salient feature of the case. Like if God was real, like let's take that we're making a moral calculus, right? And like you have reasons for and against doing an action. Like some of them count as like +5, some of them count as like +3, right? Let's say that you have good reasons to believe that God exists, therefore you have good reasons to believe that he actually forms humans in the womb, that he creates their souls and everything. And you have good reasons to believe that he made that child exactly how the child is. Like you probably have good reasons, therefore, to believe that you maybe do not have the authority to interact with God's plan. But that doesn't seem like it's a reason that's sufficient to like disable all the other reasons, right? But there still exists a reason.
Well, there's two issues with it. The first is the sort of skeptical theism that I hold to, thinks that you actually don't have a good reason to think that God made this
You're
person
a
in this way.
theist now? You're a skeptical theist, or are you just LARPing?
Oh well, I'm agnostic, but
Okay.
the second issue is if you agree to that, then you have to concede to moral realism.
Wait, that's
Well, that's what it's like supposed to target, though. It's supposed to target people who think morality is objective in some sense.
yeah, that's entailed under the view, because like that's why I was asking about categorical reasons. Like if categorical reasons do exist, then you do have a reason not to perform the action.
No, wait, Lily, I'm not saying like, oh, that only applies if moral realism is true. I'm just saying if you think that that sort of reasoning is okay, then you have to concede to moral realism. Like you actually just have to hold that position.
Hold the position of moral realism?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that that's entailed.
No, because then you have to concede to humor's ontological argument. Like unironic. That's like the only response to the ontological argument, which is saying like the sort of epistemic possibility of a reason isn't like the epistemic possibility of the stance independent reason doesn't serve as a stance independent reason. Like that's like saying that there's like an epistemic reason to think that there's like a normative reason doesn't provide a normative reason. Like if you hold to that, think about it like this, right? Okay, take this case. Okay, if moral realism was true, then you would have a stance independent reason to do some action, right? Now, just take it, if moral realism is true, it's possible that, the morally correct thing to do is like to go like unconsensually like crack your neighbor or something like that,
So
right?
far,
And then it's possible that moral realism is true. Then that says that you currently have some sort of stance independent reason to go crack your neighbor unconsensually. That just seems false.
that's just like, yeah, I agree that that's the type of reasons that the view would commit you to if you believe that God or any of, but the first premise of the argument, right, is literally like the conditional if sense independent reasons. No, sorry. So if moral realism is true, then blah blah blah, blah, right? But the issue is that the conditional is obviously false, just like the conditional if God exists, like that's obviously false too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
You
this
can
is
just
like a
attack
really
them with
famous.
that
Yeah,
premise.
if you just attack the entity, then I mean, like I actually
No,
don't
the
know what happens there.
conditional. No, 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 no.
Actually, it's
You
true.
should, you should first you should ask the argument for the conditional, and then you should attack the consequent, obviously. But look, the issue. Sorry, premise theory. But look, if it is the case, right, that God exists, blah blah blah, or natural facts, or sorry, all of these things exist, then yeah, you would have those reasons, like obviously. But I don't even think that those are the type of reasons that would be conducive to like an actual moral calculus. Like let's say you, even if God exists, then you have reasons not to interfere with evil. Those reasons are definitely like probably not salient in the cases. Like let's be honest right now. Like he said, the reasons could go on the opposite way and infinitely, right? It's just
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there's such a reason that exists. It's just that one, you probably don't have epistemic access to it, and two, like those types of reasons might count as like 0.0003 3 in the moral calculus. That I don't think that would sway anyone's opinion though.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there about like the probabilities and like your limited epistemology, but I don't think I don't think saying that it's an epistemic possibility that you have a reason to do X serves as a reason to do X.
I don't even think that those are epistemic. I don't. Sorry, I don't think these are epistemic reasons. Like, if you say God created such a norm, that's not like I think that's a reason in the moral domain. I don't think that that's an epistemic reason. Like maybe you have you need to have some type of epistemic grasp of it, but then I mean that's also true of like moral reasons. So I don't know why like you would have
Well, I
to.
don't know. It's just like just take like the sort of Morian argument of like if God exists, um it's possible that you should like do this terrible action and then it would just follow from that like you have reason to do this
Plausible.
terrible
It's
action.
definitely not probable, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Well, either you just say that it's like highly unlikely, or you just like deny that that serves as a reason at all. Oh, wait. No. Wait, Lily, we're missing like an important point. It's like, have you heard about like the PRP?
No, unless I've heard of the non like reducted version, I guess.
It's like, okay, it's like trying to say something like if I knew that P, I would have some reason to phi. If I knew that not P, this wouldn't give me a reason to
No.
not phi.
Yeah, I think I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah. So like if okay, wait, what case are we talking about? Like if God has a reason, um if God has a reason to allow X, I have a reason to allow X. If God does not have a reason to allow X, I that doesn't give me a reason to not X. I think that seems
Well,
true.
I think I don't even think that if God has a reason to X means we have a reason to X though. That
Wait,
just
yeah, I agree with that. Or in this case, it's something even weaker. It seems to me that God has a reason to do X. Therefore, God has a reason to. Therefore, it's like highly likely that God has a reason to do X. Therefore,
actually
I have a reason to do X. I don't think that
I think
either
I think
inference works.
I think the issue I think maybe I don't think that the prompt is true because I think we're kind of conflating like descriptive norms with like normative norms. Like it seems like even if God had a reason to like create people with cancer, like that might not be a normative thing at all. That just might be descriptive. Like he has a reason to like, just like God creating like the universe, like that might just be like a descriptive norm. Like I don't think that going from that you can make a normative norm. Like I'm not too sure if that fits, unless you're like a naturalist or something. But even then, like you would have a pretty hard way to like actually do that. And then God might even have a reason to do so that's not moral at all, or not like normative. Might just be,
Well,
I don't know.
no, yeah, I mean, I agree with that, with saying that. And also, like, yeah, I guess the way the prompt is formed, it kind of seems like, moral anti-realism just like defeats it. But it's like the way that Luis Oliveira um like explains it in the paper, the way he's defending it is, if we're granting that God has divine foreknowledge and he's all good, um and objective, or yeah, like moral realism is true, then uh if we have something like, or if we say something like, the reasons that God has for allowing evils are normatively justifying, and we have good reasons to, or like, well, I mean, not this part, but if we just trust God, that he has divine foreknowledge and he's all good, then we would similarly have reasons that are normatively justifying for us to allow the evils that we see.
Perhaps not, because it seems like he would maybe you have good reasons to listen to the voices in your head that tell you to like do something, but I don't think you have good reasons to like interfere with his plan or not interfere with his plan, because it seems like
Well,
God gave like very specific inscriptions to like people on how they should live their life and follow his teaching. It doesn't seem like he wants you to like create a universe because he created a universe and that was his plan. So it doesn't seem like you should do or should not or should interfere with his plan, because you wouldn't understand it. So
no, yeah, so I agree that there are ways in which the asymmetry between those reasons can be defended, but notice how, like, in the example you just gave, like how if you're hearing voices in your head, then you might have reasons to listen to those voices, or you might not have reasons. But if we take for granted that those voices that you were hearing had divine foreknowledge and they were all good, then you'd have stronger reasons for listening to those voices than possibly believing the intuitions that you feel pulled towards when you see evils.
right, but then you could just say that the way that God created us is in such a way that we react to evils or when we see evil. So it seems like it's also part of his plan to like just let us interfere with the evil.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Like it seems like God created us in such a way that when we see a child that is sick, whether or not we like believe that God has a reason to make them sick, we still feel like severe empathy with them. So it seems like, and that empathy like makes us or at least like seems to be the type of thing that makes us do actions. And if God created us in such a way, then there's probably a strong probability that he wants us to do something with
Wait,
that type of guideline.
Lily, do you not think that the second like clause of the PRP is like broken though? Because it's like, okay, if if I have some reason to think that God has some reason to allow the child to drown or like to not save the child, but even if I had no reason to believe that God had a reason, that doesn't give me reason to like to save the child, right?
Right. But
So
maybe
I don't think the sort of inference goes through.
wait, no. But I do think that it goes through, because just from the facts you've cited, these are not reasons, but they might be reasons external. Like, the fact that a child is drowning, that might be a reason to save him.
Yeah, but
But
the
within
negation
doesn't
of the
necessarily.
fact itself.
Right. I don't think that that's a reason though. Like, I don't think that you can derive a reason from that. Like, how would you? Like, would you say the fact that? No, I do think it works. I don't know.
I don't know. Dude, Bridge
Unless
What's
and
the
I were talking
PRP?
about like reasons theory and like meta ethics this morning, and now it's like being used in God debates.
what the hell, boy?
What does the PRP stand for?
The probability of reasons principle.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh my god, I finally did Bayesian calculus, by the way. Oh my god,
Bro,
finally.
Bayesian calculus isn't a thing, twin.
Well, you know, like the probability of A given B is equal
Oh
to the
yeah, yeah.
probability of B given A
Okay.
times B. No,
No,
times
it's
the
times.
probability of A
There
divided
you
by the
go.
probability of B. Right.
Yeah. Wait, but that form's like never used.
Oh, fuck me then. Fuck you
Well, I mean, oh
too.
wait. That's like Bayes' theorem. That's like important to know. But that form, like normally, what's used is just like probability of A given B is greater than probability of A complement given B. B, therefore, probability of A is greater than A complement.
Low-key, the easiest one is just like the conjunction. Like,
Yeah, the conjunction penalty is like the most used one. Okay.
yeah, I also like did I did conjunction, the PA, PB, whatever. And then I did like separate events or whatever, like disjunctive.
Independent.
Yeah, independent.
Oh, wait, that's really important. That's how you beat every single total refutation of the problem of evil.
Oh shit.
Because look, if they give a total refutation, I use this on Saucy and like and like a bunch of other people, where it was like, I think I used this on Plasma as well, where they'll give like a total refutation, and then you'll basically what that means is God, like perceived facts about evil and the existence of God are independent events, meaning that they can't influence each other's probability, right? So
Right.
just imagine that we find a world, or like just imagine that next, like in 10 years, we discover 20 trillion planets of like each with a billion sentient creatures that are just living like the worst possible lives ever. They would say, yeah, I wouldn't update on God. But that's like obviously like false, right? But like you found
Right.
yourself in a world where there's just like a conveyor belt of like babies being like slaughtered. They're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't update on God in that case.
Right.
It's like like the star rating case that they give for fine tuning. It's like that. That's like our equivalent of the star
Damn.
rating case.
Wait, oh my god, I forgot. Did you know that one of the responses, I was so shocked when I heard this shit. This shit is so whack. One of the responses to the problem of evil is just saying that the Gnostic Gospels is actually true.
What the hell is that?
It's like, you mean the Gnostic Gospel or like,
Wait, yeah, I don't know what that is.
oh, it's like this really, it's really weird. Like, I don't even know if this story is true. Like, it's dead ass it's some mythical ass story where it's like, actually there was another part to the Bible, but it got like destroyed, and then like they found it back, and it was like farmers that found it, and what it said was that actually the God in the Bible is an inferior God, that is actually like a really evil and stupid God, low key. And
Bruh.
wait, and
Wait, we're
then
just saying shit now.
yeah,
Like, what the
on
hell?
God, bro. And then they're like, actually, that's the reason, and they also that's also how they respond to like my response of like fine tuning, like where you say, hey, actually, like why would God do it in those specific constants? They're like, he's like kind of weak, that's why. But the real superior God, that's all loving and stuff, he told him to not create the world, and that's why he created like constants, thinking that the that inferior God has a very specific name. Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls, exactly. They found the scripture. It's a real concept. Blah blah. Yeah, okay. But to me, that's just like, I
Dude, that's
don't
like
know.
actually so
Yeah,
true. Wait,
yeah,
Lily,
and then they're like, that's
your
why real
objection is
concept.
low-key like a real objection?
I know, bro. I actually,
The
you know that
Sinababu thing?
there's actually
There's like a
um
paper on it, Electrons and Love.
I was watching a video and some girl was talking about how like fine tuning is like a god of the gaps type of
Hell
shit.
no.
Look-y, I
Bro,
don't agree with
it's
them.
literally not even God of the Gaps though.
It depends how the rendition is. Cause if they're saying we
Yeah,
don't
if they're
know.
really stupid, then yeah.
Yeah. Like she was giving a stupid rendition and then she said like therefore god of the gaps. So like that's on her.
Chess, chess, chess,
But
Rancho.
wait, Lily, there's the wait, what is it? It was like have you like read the Electrons in Love paper?
No, I didn't. What is
Okay,
it talking about?
basically what it's trying to say is okay, if you're a theist, you can't like you can't be like a physicalist, right? Or
Right.
um at least
A naturalist, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Okay, so
Wait,
if you're
wait,
a
wait.
theist,
Before we talk about this, low-key, Liam's like kind of like question was low-key. He's low-key, right? Like, what does naturalism even entail? Because like,
wait, yeah,
for example, Mike is like, yeah, naturalism also entails God or stuff like that. But like, the issue is that if you try to define naturalism, like the best way I actually think you could describe is a little bit like the trans thing, where you give like cluster concepts, but then it
yeah.
kind of begs the question like
You mean the
why
HPC?
aren't the other things included in that set?
Wait,
For
I
example,
just know what things are natural and which things aren't natural. I just don't know what natural means.
yeah, but the
You just
issue
know
is
it
that
Wouldn't
intuitively.
naturalism just describe the things that like occur naturally?
yeah, but then it begs the question what occurs? Like, are souls natural? What if souls actually
No, souls aren't natural.
yeah, but
Are
the
you
issue
saying
Like
that?
there, I think there's obviously a dichotomy between that of like non-natural
yeah, but
objects and entities, and then
the issue is
natural
that
objects and
if
entities.
if in your metaphysics you agree that it's natural for souls to exist, right? Like it's a natural feature of the world, then what distinguishes it from like plants or like black matter, right? Like if you want to
What?
distinguish
It's
it,
spooky. It's metaphysically spooky.
yeah, but the
What do
issue
you mean?
is
Yo,
What
that then it's
distinguishes it
like
from
kind of
plants or black matter?
arbitrary,
It's
right?
ontologically queer.
yo, I had a like,
Yeah.
yo, do you think, like,
I feel like I'm
wait,
going
it's like
crazy
some
trying to
theists,
listen to this.
such as like, some theists have like different, like, like substances of souls, and like different entities or objects have different substances of the soul. Like, I don't think every,
Yeah, like
like,
Lily
Oh, I
has like
agree,
a
but I wasn't
vegetative soul, and then like I have like
yo,
a
set that shit up.
what?
Set that shit up. Shut that. Yo, Loki, there was a dude that was absolutely insane earlier on panel. He was saying every person, every time they unalive, they lose 8 grams or something like that. And then he was like, therefore, souls exist because souls leave the body. And therefore, that's
wait.
why you lose 8 grams. And then we
Yo,
were
what is
like,
that?
you
What is
think
that?
souls are material?
Okay, that's
Oh,
a cinnamon roll.
yo!
Okay, that's a
It,
cinnamon
it's
roll.
a it's a vegan chili potato.
Are you doing
Yo,
Ramadan? Oh no, because it's too early for y'all. Cheat.
Don't be
You're
all
not
up in
doing
my
it.
business.
My bad, my bad.
yo, why are you breaking fast, bro? Why are you breaking fast?
But anyways, Rancho, what were you saying earlier about
Wait,
naturalism?
it's just saying that like okay, there's basically like a really wide array of if you adopt the sort of commitments that theism has, you'd be committed to saying there's like a really wide range of metaphysical possibilities with more friendly like mind friendly psychophysical laws. Like imagine electrons have like minds and then they can fall in love um with like protons and
That
stuff.
seems a little bit like idealism. I've already heard about this concept when I was looking
Hold on,
into
Rancho. Wait, how do you think the theist like commits to like saying that electrons have like some sort of like mind and like what
Bro,
are like?
obviously electrons don't have a mind, bro. That shit is
that shit is whack.
Yeah, no
There's
shit, no
there's
shit, my
actually
guy. I'm not the type of theist to commit that an electron has a fucking mind.
look, there's actually an
no,
idealist that was talking
it's
about
just possible. It's like possible that electrons could fall in love. Like it's
How
metaphysically possible.
how is that logically possible?
Wait, that's obviously
Like I
logically
still follow
possible.
the like I still
How?
follow biology. Like I think in like it's logically possible.
Well, obviously it's
Sure,
logically
like
possible, but the point is just that God could have created a world where electrons fall in love. So it seems that there's actually, it's actually all contingent on the psychophysical laws. So actually fine tuning isn't like unlikely at all. There could be fine tuning in like literally every single universe. Um, because, you know,
Yeah,
these sort of
metaphysics.
complex. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
But
And
I
you
think
just say
I
fine
don't think the
tuning
theists
isn't
would
that.
disagree at all.
are they justifying this by saying that God is all loving or some shit?
No.
Omnibenevolence?
It's an argument against the theist. It's just the point is
Oh,
just saying that look, normally people will say that the probability of life permitting conditions is really low, right? But this argument is just saying if you adopt the theist commitment, then it seems that the probability of life permitting conditions is actually like very high.
really, really high. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then it's like not a striking fact anymore.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like at least if God wanted to like create something really life permitting, we would see more life. But that's just my opinion. I don't
Bro, you're
know.
actually a troll though.
No, it's actually I
Yo,
actually heard this response.
Wait,
I
have you
actually
read
read the
have you
essay.
read like the new like fine tuning for discoverability thing? That shit's actually crazy.
No, what is
yo,
it?
Rancho, send it my way. I'll read it right now.
It's on Matthew Adelstein's Substack. It's called Bentham's Bulldog. Just look up the new fine tuning argument from discoverability or something like that.
What does it talk about?
Yeah,
It's
I
like
got it.
hyper fine tuning for like the discoverability of certain facts in science. Like there's the frequency of like microwave radiation is real. It's so specific that if it was like off by even like 1 in 10 to the like 1 billion or something like that, it would still be noticeable. Like we'd still know it exists, but we couldn't measure it. So the whole point is like if the universe is like super fine tuned for like discoverability, like finding out all of these like numbers and like doing science. So basically the universe could have been like exactly the same. Like it could have functioned the same and everything, but we'd like never be able to do like any science whatsoever.
Wait, but I mean, that doesn't seem like it's like for. Wait. I still think that my response still works. Well, my response.
Okay, your response commits you to necessitarianism, so
I don't know. It doesn't. Like, I read another paper on this. Look,
oh
the
my
thing,
god.
the question. Like, listen.
Wait, I already debunked your
Thank you.
response, I thought. Because it doesn't it proves too much.
It proves too much.
Yeah, because just assume that the initial conditions spelled out made by God with love, then you would say we shouldn't update in that case.
If the sorry, I didn't hear that. If the initial conditions were what?
Let's say the initial conditions spelled out like made by God with love.
Well, yeah, we should update on theism in that case, but
Wait,
the
why
thing
should
is,
we update on theism in that case?
right, because that's something that humans like. It's way closer to design. I think that Sinlith was talking to me about this, like the problem of how they induce those facts. Like, if it is the case that there's something that is only invented by humans or that seems to be proper to humans and rational minds, like writing or like I don't know, fucking cooking or something.
Bro,
That was
I already proved I already beat Mike
no, well,
Brigandy
that's
on this, bro.
like it's a little bit like that one
There's an inductive
hypothetical.
argument to be made from the sample size of humans to all agents, right? That sort of thing.
From the sample size of all agents, yeah, I agree. Like the thing about if it was written, then it would be way more probability raising. Yeah, I agree. Like
Yeah. Just say the
you know
same
the
thing is true about.
hypothetical.
Just say
You
the
know
same
the
thing is true about fine tuning, bro.
right, but you know the hypothetical that is like, oh, you go in a forest and you find a watch, and like you're like, okay, well, what is the most probable cause of this watch? Well, it's way more probable that it's made by humans than just like appeared out of nowhere because it's like
Yeah, I
a
agree.
more complex thing, right? But then the issue
That's
is like I can't repeat it properly, but there's an issue with the induction here. When you compare, like, you know how you're like, hey, you're comparing something that's designed to something that's also designed. Like, if everything is designed, then you can't induce any of
you're
the.
double counting.
Yeah, like the watch is also in something that's designed. So really,
Yeah.
that type of problem of induction here.
Bro, Lilli, stop coming up with arguments that already exist. That's literally de Troyer's objection.
Hello? I just said that I was talking about this with Sinlith. I don't know what fucking the Troyer wrote. Like, I
Wait,
haven't.
this is okay. Then Sinlet's talking about de Troyer's objection because he thinks that works. But yeah, that
He
that
was
is de
talking about
Troyer's
a book,
objection.
and then the Troyer probably got it from the book and like
No,
from
Tutorial
himself.
made up his own thing.
Oh.
Yeah, then I made up my own thing too, bitch. The fuck.
Bro, this has actually happened on like 6 or 7 different occasions.
Yo,
Where, like,
yo, yo,
you'll be
yo,
like,
yo, those numbers are big. Those
yo, I
numbers are
just
big.
came up with like a new theory that like no one knows, and then it
Yeah,
just
okay.
turns out
Anyways, look, it turns out.
Yo,
coherentism,
Rancho.
fine-tuning,
It's gonna ask you
internalism.
for chess, bro. What the fuck? Shut
Yo,
that
it's
shit.
Yeah, so like, okay, so 2 requests. 1, would you like to read my paper on like the anti-archetype and the archetype after it's been published on Wednesday? And then 2, would you like to play a game of chess?
the first I'll read it for sure, and then the second I'm currently doing homework. So
Wow.
Bro, I just finished my homework, bro.
Loser ass bitches.
I'm bored as hell.
Yeah, come on, Rancho. If Scholar finished his homework, then clearly you have reasons to play chess with him.
Wow.
oh, that's wait, that's actually like that actually might follow.
It's like a reward. Come on, bro. You gotta play chess with me, bro.
I need to finish my like research assignment as well, because like my PI is gonna like kill me.
Bro, what's the research?
You're a personal investigator?
Yeah, that's what PI means famously in the context of research.
Your personal tutor.
Yep, that actually does spell out PI.
Oh, the T is silent.
That's right. Oh wait, but she recently got tenure, so low-key she might not give a fuck.
You have 10 years in prison?
That's right.
Damn, I feel bad for you.
What the hell? Why did she get 10 years? Did she murder someone?
I said tenure, bro.
Oh,
Actually,
10
Bro, no way you fell for the Kylo gambit, bro.
My bad. I was texting Ari because she said
Yo, so like,
replying.
Kylo.
What's up, boss?
So it seems to be the case that that my birthday is coming
Yeah.
very soon. And it seems to also be the case that, we happen to live in the same state. However, you're all the way in a different county.
Wow.
How the fuck you know?
You live in the DMV, or you live in the DMV?
How'd you know that?
Yeah. So that just came from the fact that the music you make,
What
you know, the what you call it, the clothing that you wear is just similar to that of like an individual who would live in the DMV.
Wow. Induction is a powerful tool.
Wait, Lilli, aren't you an inductive skeptic?
No, somebody told you, bro.
Wait, are you an inductive skeptic?
Somebody told you? No, dude. I literally dress the exact same way, and I literally listen to DMV music all the time.
No,
I live here.
I'm not an inductive skeptic. Like, what are you talking about? The
What's
stuff
your
about
what's your argument against inductive skepticism? Like Hume's.
Hume's? Probably. I mean, he was. I don't even think that it. I don't even think that it targets the type of induction we're talking about. The induction he targeted was Aristotelian induction. So I mean, it's not really a problem for probabilistic inductions.
Okay, so you think that probability theory and the law of large numbers adequately solves the issue?
Probably. Like I think
that's
that.
correct.
I think that.
Wait,
like,
do you think that my inductive reasoning was like bad or something?
No, I think your inductive reasoning was fine. No, wait, Lilli, I'm just saying, do you think that you can use the law of large numbers proof that like Hume talks about in chapter 12 of Understanding Knowledge?
Why would I know what the law of large numbers is if I've never read a thing from that bald man?
I thought you started, 1, he's not bald, and 2, I thought you started reading about probability, bro. What the hell have you been learning?
Well, I've been learning the basics of like base theorem. I've not been doing like humor stuff. Like, why would I ever read someone bald, bro? What?
Wait, are you not like?
I'm literally reading philosophy of mind right now, and people are trying to.
Tight shit.
Are you an objective Bayesian?
No, probably subjective.
Okay, so just set your priors at whatever the fucking thing that you want.
How do you resolve the problem of the prior?
Yeah, it's just going to be the Kolmogorov axioms updating properly, and then it's going to be the principle of indifference.
Fine, I'm an objective Bayesian. Whatever.
Oh, let's go.
But yeah, that view is necessarily false given the possibility contrary, because we could take the postulate P, powers don't exist, postulate Q, I exist. That's possible in one possible world. Then we can apply. We can apply. We can apply S5, and then it's gonna be possibly necessary that priors don't exist, and therefore it's necessary the case priors don't exist. Therefore, priors don't exist. Therefore, the objectivist view of Bayesianism is false.
You understand that would also be a proof against subjective
No, I
Bayesianism?
don't know why you're talking to me. I didn't agree to talk with you. I don't consent.
Oh shit.
Yo, why are you?
Yo,
Why is he using my rhetoric? What?
Oh my god, wow. Rancho, you're an awful person for that. I don't know why you would do that. Crazy. Anyways.
Yo, Kylo, do you think implied consent exists?
Wait, so what's your answer to like the microwave stuff, like the waves?
The what?
The fine tuning.
Oh, wait. My response is the physics hasn't checked out yet, but if the physics checks out, then I'm a theist. That's the answer.
That's stupid.
That was Lex's answer as well. So you can't say that it's stupid.
I just said it.
No, but you can't because Lex also agrees with me.
I just said it.
No, but you can't because
Really appeal to authority. What the fuck?
Wait, that's not an appeal to authority because it's an appeal to Lex.
That's literally an appeal to authority.
If Lex says X, then X is
fine. That's an appeal to Lex. Whatever.
That's
Wait, if Lex says X is true,
then X is true. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard Lex say that Rancho's a bitch.
Then it must be true.
Exactly.
What? So what's gonna be the argument for that?
What if
it's an axiom?
What if it's
an axiom?
What if?
What's the axiom?
What if?
I already iterated the axiom.
It's obviously like self-evident, but look.
Yo,
that's what an axiom is. Self-evident, and it's
just a self-evident truth that lays at the foundation of your beliefs. I actually hold to a sort of foundationalism called Lex foundationalism, which states that, if it is the case that Lex says that X, then you're justified in believing X.
Wait, do you think you could pull the same move, like do the Morian inference and say that it's an axiom that the external reality is like existing or something? Probably.
Yes. Bro, just look at your hands, bro. It's not that hard.
Bro, he wrote on like 70 pages based on like just like look at your hands, bro. Like I don't know what
you know what Huber said about him? He was like, G.E. Moore was really famous for like showing skeptics his hands and then like calling them like R words, bro.
Oh my god, bro. Hell no.
Bro, I was reading a fucking Hirshenov paper and it was like he just started like spamming the R word, bro. He's like, if we had some like R-worded human organism. It's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Bro,
Yo, I'm gonna end the live, guys, but thanks for coming up.
Also, you hate us. Okay. Thank you.
No, you can come back next time.
That's a microaggression against black women.
Exactly.
All right.